Zelda spent 35 years giving you items to unlock paths. The hookshot crosses this gap. The flippers cross this water. Mina the Hollower replaced every single one of those items with one button, and it's the highest rated indie game of the year. Mina the Hollower comes from Yacht Club Games. If you've played Shovel Knight, you know this studio. They spent 6 years on this game, started as a solo side project, grew into their most ambitious release ever. It launched in May and hit 91 on Metacritic, 500,000 copies in 2 weeks. But we're not here to talk about sales. We're here to dissect why this game works at a design level and what you can steal for your own project. Here's the core loop. You explore handcrafted areas from a top-down perspective. Think Game Boy Color Zelda, but gothic horror. You fight enemies with deliberate positional combat. More Castlevania than button mashing. Every enemy has a pattern. Every swing has commitment. You collect bones from defeated enemies which you spend to upgrade your stats. You find trinkets that give you permanent abilities and sidearms, combat tools you lose when you die. And you fix spark generators in each area, which usually means beating a boss. Then you return to the hub city of Osix and pick where to go next. The structure is open-ended. You can tackle areas in different orders. There's no Metroidvania gating. No, you need the grapple hook to enter this zone. The game trusts you to figure things out, and the world is built to reward curiosity, and the average player only sees 50 to 70% of the content on a first playthrough, and that's by design. Yacht Club embraced the idea of players getting lost. They put dynamic newspapers in the hub city that change based on what you haven't done yet. Skip the bayou? The newspaper reports flooding there. Already cleared it? Different story. It's a clue system that adapts to the player instead of handing everyone the same quest markers. Now let's get into the 3 design decisions that make this game exceptional. The first one is the most important. It's called the hollowing. Mina's signature ability is burrowing underground. Press a button and she dives beneath the surface, becoming invincible for a short window. That's the combat dodge. Your iframes, your panic button, your get out of this combo free card. But it's also the traversal tool. You burrow under gaps, across water, through walls. Areas that look impassable suddenly aren't. And it's the exploration mechanic. Secret areas are hidden underground, accessible only by burrowing. There are paths, collectibles, and entire encounter spaces that exist beneath the surface. One ability, 3 functions: dodge, traverse, explore. This solves the biggest problem with Zelda-style progression. In Zelda, every new area is gated behind a specific item. You can't cross water without flippers. You can't reach that ledge without the hook shot. Each item does exactly one thing, and the game has to hand you 20 of them to fill out the map. That's scope bloat. Every item needs a tutorial, a use case, a place in the inventory, a dungeon built around it, and a reason to exist after that dungeon is done. Most of those items become dead weight by the endgame. Mina replaces all of that with a single verb. You have to burrow from the start. The game doesn't gate new areas behind new items. It teaches you new applications of the ability you already have. Here's how Yacht Club described the problem. During playtesting, players kept reaching a water area and saying, "I can't go here, I don't have the flippers." Classic Zelda-trained expectation. The obvious fix would be to add flippers. Instead, Yacht Club locked players into that area, forcing them to figure out that burrowing was the answer. They didn't add an item. They designed the encounter flow to teach the existing ability. That's a fundamentally different design philosophy. Instead of breadth giving players more tools, they chose depth. One mechanic with enough context sensitivity to solve dozens of different problems. The player isn't managing an inventory of gadgets. They're mastering a single skill that keeps revealing new layers. The transferable principle here is simple. Before you add a new mechanic to your game, ask, can an existing mechanic solve this problem in a new context? If the answer is yes, design the situation to teach the player that application. You'll reduce your scope, deepen your gameplay, and make the player feel smart for figuring it out. The second design decision is about weapons. Mina has 5 weapons, and each one is a fundamentally different game. Most action games handle weapons as incremental upgrades. Bronze sword, iron sword, steel sword. Each one hits harder, swings faster, or has a slightly bigger range. The player's experience barely changes. You're doing the same thing with bigger numbers. Yacht Club rejected that completely. Each of Mina's 5 weapons changes the gameplay verbs, the actual actions you perform in combat. The Nightstar whip is a spacing game. You attack in 4 directions, keeping enemies at mid-range. It plays like classic Castlevania, deliberate, methodical, every swing matters. The Whisper and Vesper dual daggers are a hit-and-run game. fast stabs with low recovery so you can burrow away instantly after attacking. The cadence feels like the sword in Zelda 2, quick commitments, constant repositioning. The Blaststrike Maul is a timing game, slow wind-up, huge damage, and a unique charge mechanic. While charging, Mina gets a tactical role that no other weapon gives her. It turns the hammer into a high-risk, high-reward dance. The Guardian Casket Shield is a parry game. You're not attacking aggressively, you're waiting for the enemy to commit, then punishing. It has a durability system where the shield cracks under pressure, so you can't just turtle forever. Perfect timing on a parry negates damage and deals massive knockback. It's essentially a Souls parry build in top-down form, and the Coffin Toss upgrade turns the shield into a projectile you can throw and then stand on as a platform. And the Battery Buster is a rhythm game. Ranged mode depletes ammo, melee mode recharges it, so you're constantly switching between peppering enemies from afar and diving in to refill. It creates a combat tempo that no other weapon has. The burst shot charges your ranged attack for area damage. The charge swing refills your clip faster when you melee. It's Mega Man meets an action RPG economy. 5 weapons, 5 completely different combat loops. Same enemies, same rooms, same bosses, but the way you approach them changes entirely depending on what you're holding. Sandy Gordon, one of the designers, said it directly. If we're going to give players options, we want to make sure the choice matters. The difference between quick stabbing daggers and timed heavy attacks should be stark. This is the difference between build diversity and playstyle diversity. Build diversity means your stats are different. Playstyle diversity means your moment-to-moment decisions are different. Most indie games offer build diversity, same actions, different numbers. Yacht Club offers playstyle diversity, different actions entirely, and every weapon has 2 upgrade paths, so there are 10 distinct combat evolutions across the game. The lesson for your project: when you give players a choice, make it a choice that changes how they play, not just how much damage they deal. If choosing weapon B over weapon A doesn't change my decision making in combat, it's not really a choice, it's a stat check. The third design decision isn't a mechanic, it's a process. Yacht Club calls it finding the worst room in the game. During the final months of development, they delayed the game 7 months specifically for this. The team ran a specific QA loop. David the 500th Angelo, the lead programmer, described it like this. They'd playtest, identify the weakest room or encounter in the game, argue about which one was truly the worst, then fix it. Then they'd find a new worst room and repeat, until no one could definitively say any room was the worst. That sounds simple, but it's the opposite of what most teams do. Most teams polish their showcase moments, the boss fights, the set pieces, the clips that go in the trailer. Average content stays average. The result is a game with incredible highs and forgettable middles. Yacht Club raised the floor instead of the ceiling. They didn't spend extra time making the best rooms even better. They spent it making the weakest rooms good enough that you'd never notice them. The result is a game where no room feels like filler. Every encounter has been touched. Every space has been considered. This is the most directly transferable lesson in this entire video. You can apply it today to any project. Play your game, find the worst part, not the part you're most excited about, the part that's just okay. The part where a player might put the controller down, fix that, then find the next one, keep going until you can't point to a weak link. It's not glamorous. It's the work that makes the difference between this is pretty good and this feels polished. So what can you actually take from this game and apply to your own project? 3 principles. First, universal verbs over ability bloat. Before you add a new mechanic, exhaust the applications of your existing ones. Can your dash also be a puzzle solution? Can your jump also be an attack? Depth beats breadth every time, and it keeps your scope manageable. Second, make choices that change decisions, not just numbers. If your weapon selection doesn't change how the player approaches a fight, it's not a real choice. Design around verbs. What does the player do differently, not stats? Third, raise the floor. Your players will remember the average moments longer than the spectacular ones because there are more of them. Find your worst room, your weakest encounter, your most forgettable level. Fix that, then do it again. These principles work in any genre. A platformer can have a universal movement verb. A strategy game can offer playstyle diverse factions instead of stat-boosted ones. Any project can run the worst room loop. The specifics of Mina the Hollower are unique to that game, but the design philosophy transfers everywhere. Now let's talk about how AI tools can help you apply these principles faster. For the universal verb concept, you can use AI to generate ability interaction matrices. Give Claude or ChatGPT your core mechanics and ask, what are 20 situations where this ability could solve a problem the player hasn't encountered yet? That gives you a design palette to build encounters around without adding new systems. For weapon differentiation, feed AI your enemy roster and ask it to analyze how each weapon archetype changes the encounter. If the AI says the daggers and the whips solve this enemy the same way, you know your differentiation isn't deep enough. You can also prompt AI with specific playstyle archetypes, design a defensive weapon, design a momentum weapon, and use the output as a starting spec that you then refine by hand. And for the worst room methodology, if you have playtest telemetry, even basic stuff like where players die or quit, feed that data to an AI model and ask it to flag your weakest encounters. It won't replace human judgment, but it'll point you at the rooms worth fixing first. You can even generate encounter variations with AI, drop them into your build, and a/B test them with playtesters to see which version raises the floor. Inside AI Craft, we're using these exact workflows to prototype ability systems, playtest encounter designs, and iterate on game feel. We use AI to generate encounter variations, simulate build permutations, and catch the design holes that human playtesters miss because they're too close to the game. If you want to see these processes running on real projects, join the community. The link is in the description. Please feel free to subscribe and check out the links in the description below.